if you were my investment advisor and I was trying to invest in the future, how do you think the human species is most likely to destroy itself in this century? Yeah, in so if the crises, many of the crises we're facing are really before us within the next 100 years, how do we make explicit make known the unknowns and solve those problems to avoid the biggest starting with the biggest existential crisis?
So, as your investment advisor, how are you planning to make money on us destroying ourselves? I have to ask.
I don't know. It's might be the Russian origins that somehow is involved.
At the micro level of detailed strategies, of course, these are unsolved problems. For AI alignment, we can break it into 3 sub problems that are all unsolved. I think you want first to make machines understand our goals, then adopt our goals, and then retain our goals. So to hit on all 3 real quickly, the problem when Andreas Lubitz told his autopilot to fly into the Alps was that the computer didn't even understand anything about his goals, right? It was too dumb. It could have understood, actually, but you would have had to put some effort in as a system designer to don't fly into mountains. So that's the first challenge. How do you program into computers human values, human goals? We can start, rather than saying, oh, it's so hard, we should start with the simple stuff, as I said. Self-driving cars, airplanes, just put in all the goals that we all agree on already, and then have a habit of whenever machines get smarter so they can understand one level higher goals, put them into. The second challenge is getting them to adopt the goals. It's easy for situations like that where you just program it in, but when you have self-learning systems like children, any parent knows that there is a difference between getting our kids to understand what we want them to do and to actually adopt our goals, yes. Right? With humans, with children, fortunately, they go through this phase. First, they're too dumb to understand what we want, our goals are. And then they have this period of some years when they're both smart enough to understand them and malleable enough that we have a chance to to raise them well. Yeah. And then they become teenagers. And it's kind of too late. But we have this window. With machines, the challenge is the intelligence might grow so fast that window is pretty short. So that's a research problem. The third one is, how do you make sure they keep the goals if they keep learning more and getting smarter? Many sci-fi movies are about how you have something which initially was aligned, but then things kind of go off keel. And my kids were very, very excited about their Legos when they were little. Mm-hmm. Now they're just gathering dust in the basement. If we create machines that are really on board with the goal of taking care of humanity, we don't want them to get as bored with us and as my kids got with Legos. So this is another research challenge. How can you make some sort of recursively self-improving system retain certain basic goals?
That said, a lot of adult people still play with Legos, so maybe we succeeded with the Legos.
Maybe. I like your optimism. But
not all AI systems have to maintain the goals, right? Just some fraction.
Yeah. So there's a lot of talented AI researchers now who have heard of this and want to work on it. Not so much funding for it yet. Of the billions that go into building AI more powerful, it's only a minuscule fraction so far going into the safety research. My attitude is generally we should not try to slow down the technology, but we should greatly accelerate the investment in this sort of safety research, and also make sure. This was very embarrassing last year, but the NSF decided to give out 6 of these big institutes. We got one of them for AI and science. You asked me about. Mm-hmm. Another one was supposed to be for AI safety research, and they gave it to people studying oceans and climate and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm all for studying oceans and climates, but we need to actually have some money that actually goes into AI safety research also, and doesn't just get grabbed by whatever. That's a fantastic investment. And then at the higher level, you ask this question, okay, what can we do? What are the biggest risks? I think we cannot just consider this to be only a technical problem. again, because if you solve only the technical problem, can I play with your robot?
Yes, please.
If we can get our machines, to just blindly obey the orders we give them, so we can always trust that it will do what we want, that might be great for the owner of the robot. It might not be so great for the rest of humanity if that person is that least favorite world leader or whatever you imagine, right? So we have to also apply alignment not just to machines, but to all the other powerful structures. That's why it's so important to strengthen our democracy again, as I said, to have institutions that make sure that the playing field is not rigged, so that corporations are given the right incentives to do the things that both make profit and are good for people, to make sure that countries have incentives to do things that are both good for their people and don't screw up the rest of the world. And this is not just something for AI nerds, to geek out on. This is an interesting challenge for political scientists, economists, and so many other thinkers.